Hi guys, and welcome to today's session. So this is going to be the final in the little series we've been running on sketching features of the face in oils. So we've done a little set on eyes, a set on the nose, a set on the mouth, and now we're going to do the ear, which isn't maybe exactly a feature of the face, but it's part of the head, and it's something people often struggle with. So we're going to be starting with just a bit of our medium, some mineral spirits, some burnt umber, and we're going to start just by sketching out the major forms of this ear. So starting with sort of just the outside shape. Ears are pretty forgiving things in that they can be fairly variable. They don't necessarily exactly relate as much to the other features of the face, like a particular face. So someone could have kind of like any features of their face, and their ears might be more or less similar or different in a way that's a little bit different from like the nose, the eyes, the mouth. They all tend to be a bit connected, and you have to be kind of aware of their relative proportions. The ears sort of sit a little bit out on a limb. But what we want to think about are these sort of intersecting spirals. So I've covered this a bit when we've done some drawing lessons about ears, so you can sort of check those out if you want to watch something else about ears. But basically we've got this sort of outer section, and then we've got a spiral inside that which kind of like swells out and shrinks down. So it's maybe thinner here, wider at the top there. Then it kind of runs down. And so it separates off, flattens off down this bottom edge. Then another ring, so this then sort of curves down and cuts into the center of the ear, so it's sort of spiraling up and out. Another ring is sort of working in the opposite direction. So it's curving into here, then running parallel. So you can see now we've got a lot of those forms kind of mapped out just by following those curves. We've got this one that it sort of curves in from here, wraps all the way down to the bottom, to the kind of base of the ear. And then a second one which kind of intersects underneath that and then wraps up, and they kind of meet together at this point where they wrap in. And that pretty quickly gives us a fairly nice kind of version of this ear. So I'm going to swap to a smaller brush, and we're just going to kind of map it out a little bit more precisely now. So we're going to look for where are the shapes. Darker. And start with those. We've got a pretty dark little kind of section in here. and a particularly dark little portion here. We'll be developing this further when we get to working in colour in the next session. This session is just a wash drawing, so we're just working with the forms. So those are the most, or the sort of the darkest portions. Also a little kind of note underneath the ear here. We can go pretty dark with that. And sort of fairly dark actually, just as it emerges out of that shadow there. This is sort of an extension of the shadow next to it. Just blending that out slightly, creating slightly softer transitions. So do a little bit of a half tone coming up out of this shadow as well. So I can also use the darker paint, the smaller brush, just to kind of soften out these curves. And then reshape the inner shadow underneath this. Top edge of the ear, and that sort of tapers down to get quite thin. Then again, we're going to soften, just use the smaller brush to just soften this edge a bit. This is something we'll be developing more in the next pass, but you can sort of start to get it in now. So I've just wiped my brush off so there's a little bit less paint on it, and then I'm just sort of gradually spreading out the paint that's there. So a lot of these forms are kind of fairly nicely developed now. I'm going to do a little bit of this, try to get this bulge, added a little bit too much paint there, so I'm just going to spread that a little bit more thinly. So just about there. I'm going to lift a bit more of the paint here. Just using a little bit of paper towel just to take some of that paint off and kind of roll up here a little bit as well. Across there. A little bit there, but we'll be doing kind of like heightening it with lighter colours next time anyway. Now it's not quite in the original, but I'm going to put a little bit of kind of like a shade just behind the main form of the ear. Just to get it to kind of pop out a little bit more. Particularly actually at this top edge. There is actually, his hair colour is a bit darker behind the top edge of the ear, so just makes it a little bit more visual and less sort of graphic the way it's sitting if we do this. But yeah, we're pretty much at a nice point to stop. We let this stage dry, and then next time we work over it. We've got a good little kind of basis for our colours. I'll just put one last little pass of really dark paint just into these darkest notes. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good point to leave off for next week. So with the wash drawing, we've got our kind of major forms blocked in, which we've talked about a little bit. The kind of basic things you want to be aware of with the ears, which are really just these two kind of tubular spirals that kind of taper in a little bit. And the sorts of shadows they cast, I maybe just pulled that a little bit too far out, so I'm just going to push it back a wee bit. Yeah, so that's a good point to stop. Any kind of further changes to shapes and so on we can do next time, but it gives us a basis, something to work off, and then when we're laying in our colours we can think a bit about what's a light colour, what's a dark colour, and roughly where it's going to go, so we don't have to think so much about different colours while we're trying to paint all the forms of the ear in, and that's the advantage of this approach. So we're going to let that dry and then come back to it and work over it when it's dry, and that'll be the final pass over this year, and it'll be the final set of lessons before the summer break, and then we'll be coming back with some new stuff next year, next academic year. So yeah, that's it for today. As always, like our channel so you can keep up to date with more videos from myself and other tutors, and you can also open the description and click the link there to see the sorts of paid qualifications that we offer as well. But yeah, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys soon.